Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and I am back for another edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. I want to dive right in because the Immigration Service has been very, very busy this past week, and I want to let you know all about it. So this weekend on Saturday, Department of State, who oversees all the consulates, released a new policy to their website. And the policy is regarding non-immigrant visa applicants. So your visitor visas, your B1s, B2s, your H's, L's, O's, P's, R's, all of your non-immigrant visas, F1s for your students, J1s for your trainees, all of your non-immigrants. They now, effective immediately, must apply for visas in their home country or their country of last residence. So there is no more hopping to a third country to avail yourself of the U.S. consulate in that third country, maybe because that consulate is closer to where you are physically, or maybe is processing quicker and has visa slots open. So Department of State has put a complete stop to that. If you are from a country or you are currently living in a country where there is no active U.S. consulate, Department of State in this notice designated the U.S. consulate in the specific third country where you can go to have your visas processed. But even if there's no active U.S. consulate in your country, you still don't get to just choose which U.S. consulate you want to go to. They've been very specific. They've provided a chart as to exactly which consulate you should be going to. So this, however, does not apply to our international NATO folks. So it doesn't apply to NATO. It doesn't apply to your diplomatic folks. So A's, G's, and it doesn't apply to C2s and C3s. So those are the only exemptions. Everybody else needs to apply for their visas at their home country or in the country of their last residence. So the note also said, quote, existing non-immigrant visa appointments will generally not be canceled. So I don't quite know what generally will not be canceled means, but if they are going to cancel, they should hopefully give you notice before they do so. Again, this just came out on Saturday, so we've had zero sort of testing of these waters. So what does this mean? Like, honestly, what does this mean? So pre-COVID, this was sort of the rule. And I say sort of because pre-COVID, we could reach out to the consulate and say, hey, will you accept a third country national? And sometimes they would say yes, sometimes they would say no. This rule seems to say that that's not an option anymore. So again, this only came out 2 days ago, less than 2 days ago. So I don't quite know if that will still be an option for us to reach out to the consulates and see if they are willing to accept applications on a case-by-case basis. Not quite sure. So last month in August, there was an announcement that was made that immigrant visa applications also had to be processed in your home country. So now that we're essentially going back to where we were pre-COVID, where everybody had to just apply in your home country or country of last residence, what does that really mean? So it really means that we're going to see backlogs. The whole reason we had that flexibility and the policy was changed was to get through the backlog. So if you are coming from or you need to use a high volume consulate, then you're going to have to do a lot more planning as early as possible, applying and trying to get your visa applications, because they will absolutely be backlogged, right? It's going to take longer in some of those high volume consulates to get an appointment. Add on top of this that they have now pretty much ended for the most part, the ability not to have an interview. So the interview waiver is pretty much ended. They announced that recently as well. So these three things, sort of making everybody go back to their home country and requiring everybody to have an interview, fits in with the current White House wanting more vetting. And it is always easier to vet an applicant if they are applying at a consulate in their home country. That it's just always easier to vet them. The individuals in your home country consulate understand and know and see documents from the home country all day, every day. They are better able to figure out if they are receiving fraudulent documents. So keep that in mind. I think we're going to see a backlog of visa appointments. I think we're going to see the visa wait times in certain already high volume consulates get longer. So we'll see what happens, but that is our announcement that came out on Saturday. So again, literally just came out on Saturday, so we have zero testing of these waters yet. So I will keep you updated. Also recently announced is that EB-2 green card preference category is now unavailable. So USCIS and the consulates are not going to be approving EB-2 green cards for the remainder of this fiscal year. So what does that mean? It means that until the end of September of this month, there will be no more EB-2 green card approvals. They have used up all of those numbers. So we are in the last month of the fiscal year. A new fiscal year begins October 1. So we should see those annual numbers will reset October 1, and USCIS and the consulates should be able, or will be, able to process and approve EB-2 preference category green cards. So not the best news that they're not going to be able to approve anymore for the remainder of September, but not the worst news. It's 4 weeks, which if you're waiting will seem like an eternity. I know. I don't say that lightly, but we're not talking about 6 months. We're not talking about a year of it being unavailable. It is unavailable for the remainder of September. Again, the new fiscal year begins October 1, so we should see some movement. Should see that opening up come October 1. And we should see what it will open up to fairly quickly. The visa bulletin should release maybe next week after next. It's usually in the middle of the month prior. So hopefully we'll have some more news on that next Monday. For those of you that have entered into the diversity visa and were chosen, and you are from Egypt, Department of State has announced that Egypt is close to reaching its 7% cap for the diversity visa. Each country has their own very specific percentage of the total diversity lottery numbers. So Egypt's happens to be 7%, and they are close to reaching that number. So they have announced that because they are close to reaching that number, and a little over 52,000, they may have to start taking steps to avoid going over that number. So that means we do not know this for sure, but they may have to start canceling visa appointments. So if you are from Egypt and you won the visa lottery and you have not completed your processing yet, make sure to check your email and make sure to check your mail, because they may have to cancel appointments in order to stay within that 7% allotment that they have for folks that are from Egypt. Another notice that came out, I think it came out this past week. USCIS over the years has been moving more towards being more electronic, doing more things online. Payment has been no exception to that. Currently, you can pay your filing fees using a credit card. And you fill out the form, you send it in, they run your credit card. Well, effective October 28th of this year, so effective at the end of next month, USCIS will only accept credit card payments. So if you are someone that has not been using their credit card way to pay filing fees, or you prefer using checks for filing fees, you can file before October 28th if that is available to you, and they will still accept that check. But if you're filing after October 28th, they will require use of the credit card form that they have and pay via credit card for the filing fees. So keep that in mind. I know some of my colleagues have had to wrap their heads around this. If you are using, or I think in anticipation of October 28th, I would recommend that you set your fraud alerts on your credit cards. Because if your bank denies the charge and you don't get the fraud alert and you can't tell them that it is a real charge and that it is really you making this payment, the bank will not pay. If you do not pay, USCIS will not process your application. I have seen different things happening. Sometimes the application will be flat out rejected and returned. They will, however, keep the credit card form and destroy it, so you don't have that, going back and forth, and potentially getting lost in the mail or what have you. Or they have held on to the application, reached out to you and said, hey, this didn't go through. Can you contact your bank? So I've seen it sort of happen both ways. So I would say, in anticipation of October 28th, reach out to your credit card company, and make sure that you have fraud alerts in place. And after October 28th, after you file, make sure that you are close to your alert, whether it's email on your phone, text messaging, what have you. But make sure that you have a way, in case your bank is unfamiliar with the way that the service center or the lockbox indicates on the bank statement who the vendor is. I have seen these statements. They are not all uniformly listed the same. So it can get a little bit tricky if your bank is not used to seeing that vendor. So just keep that in mind. But as of October 28th, USCIS will only be accepting filing fees via credit card, no more check. DHS has proposed a new rule that would impact our F, J, and I visa holders. So students, trainees, and representatives of the media, F, J, and I respectively. And it would eliminate the duration of status and change that to a fixed period. So right now, if you enter on F, J, or I, where, on your I-94 card, where it says how long you may remain in the country, it says D/S. That means duration of status. And it's not a specific date, right? And that's what DHS has a problem with. But with it not being a specific date, if you overstay your time, you don't start to accrue unlawful presence. With a fixed period of time, so let's say you're supposed to leave by September 9th. If you don't leave by September 9th, starting September 10th, if you're still in the country, you start to accrue unlawful presence. So there are consequences of accruing unlawful presence. So they're accepting comments on this, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to roll with those punches, but there is a 30-day comment period that is currently open. So if you've got comments, you've got thoughts on this, let DHS know about that. Next up, I told you guys there was a lot that's happening. SEAC, NVC. If you've ever dealt with the SEAC system, you know it is a little wonky. It doesn't always like to work with us, right? NVC through Department of State is fully aware of the glitchiness that is the SEAC software system. So glitchiness in terms of the page will time out on you after what seems like a very short time. Page-specific issues, some fields or whatever may be a little glitchy. Sometimes you can't upload documents, and sometimes we have problems actually submitting payment through the system. The most recent thing that they have been working on is the timing out problem. It sometimes just takes forever and the system times out on us. So they're working on that. So if you're having really bad specific problems, you can use a public inquiry form and let them know. But they do know, right? Like they do know, and they are working on it. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention, lest everyone thought the CX system was working perfectly for everybody. And the last thing I want to talk to y'all about this morning is an EB-1 green card, which is an EB-1 extraordinary ability, and give you sort of just a heads up or a tip on that. Well, 2 tips. The first is that I've gotten calls recently and people have been asking me, can their employer sponsor their EB-1 extraordinary ability green card? The answer is absolutely. Just because you can, a lot of people talk about EB-1 extraordinary ability because you can self-sponsor or you don't need an employer, but you can also have your employer sponsor an EB-1 extraordinary ability green card. You just need to meet the requirements and meet the criteria, right? It is, the second tip is, it is a first preference category. And while recently it has been current for many folks where you could file your I-140 and your adjustment together, it is still a preference category and it's not always current. So it's very important to check the visa bulletin before you file a full I-140 and 485 application together for your EB-1s. So you want to just double check that, when you're filing or when you are strategizing that out. You just always want to check that because I've had several people say to me, oh, but I can just file my adjustment of status. And right now, those individual folks that I was speaking to could file, we could file the 485, the adjustment at the same time, but that is not always the case. So I wanted people to know that. So that, my friends, is all I have for this Monday morning, which was quite a bit. And again, Department of State was very busy this weekend. But that's all I have this Monday morning. Have a great rest of your Monday. If you need any assistance with anything from your extraordinary ability green card to figuring out, your strategy for your H's, your L's, your O's, if they need visa applications overseas, feel free to reach out to our office. We are happy to help. Have a great rest of your week, and I will chat with you next Monday. Bye.